Picture two young scholars walking together through Basel's ancient streets in 1872. Both brilliant, both passionate about philosophy, both dreaming of transforming human understanding. One speaks of his recent engagement, his voice warm with anticipation of domestic life. The other, myself, listens in silence, having just been refused by the woman I imagined would complete me. 20 years pass. I encounter them again. But now the scene has changed utterly. The married scholar speaks of his comfortable life, his adequate career, his peaceful home, and behind his contentment I perceive the unmistakable signs of potential unfulfilled. The great work he carried within him, still carried, still unborn, still waiting for time that domestic life shall never grant. His eyes no longer shine with the dangerous light of original thought. And I have wandered Europe homeless, lived in bare boarding-house rooms, suffered poverty and illness and profound isolation. Yet in those conditions, what the world pities as failure, I have forged philosophy that shall outlive us both. My solitude became the very crucible in which thus spoke Zarathustra was born. This is not accident, but necessity. Between these two paths, domestic comfort and sovereign solitude, lies no middle ground. What follows is the teaching I wish someone had given me before I wasted years seeking completion in another's eyes. Observe the young man who believes himself in love. He exhibits three unmistakable signs. He feels incomplete when alone, his happiness depends on her approval, and he modifies his ambitions to suit her comfort. The first sign betrays everything. The strong man is whole unto himself. The weak man seeks in woman what he has failed to forge within, purpose, worth, meaning itself. My colleague Werner, a brilliant philologist, cannot bear his own company for an evening. He pursues women from desperation, seeking external completion for internal fragmentation. The second sign appears in his anxious checking. Does she approve? Will this please her? He has surrendered sovereignty for the illusion of love. Werner abandoned his most promising research because it might displease his fiancée's family. 10 years have passed. The work remains unborn. The third sign manifests in countless negotiations. Ambitions moderated, passions tempered, edges smoothed away until nothing remains but comfortable mediocrity. This is not partnership, but self-erasure. Examine your last week of decisions. Did you choose based on your development or her approval? The answers reveal whether you seek love from strength or completion from weakness. Time is the currency with which you purchase your development. Most men bankrupt themselves buying domestic peace, yet never calculate what they have spent. Heinrich the scholar rises at 6 with genuine ambition. By the time he navigates family breakfast and household matters, the morning when the mind achieves its clearest state has been consumed. He arrives at his desk at 10, exhausted. 20 years pass thus. His dreamed-of treatise exists only as dream. I wake at 5 to silence in Sils Maria. By 9, I have completed 4 hours of uninterrupted philosophical work. After a decade, the difference in output is not marginal, but categorical. The mathematics prove brutal. If domestic life consumes 3 hours of peak energy daily, you lose 1,095 hours yearly, 27 40-hour weeks. Over a decade, 270 weeks sacrificed. Conduct your own audit for 1 week. Record every hour honestly. Calculate what served your development versus relationship maintenance. The numbers will shock you. This data enables informed choice rather than comfortable self-deception. I observed 2 philosophers at Basel. Both possess brilliant minds. Both perceive truths that conventional wisdom denies. Yet only one speaks these truths aloud. The first has wife and children depending on his academic position. The second lives alone, requiring nothing from the institution. The married philosopher moderates his radical insights, knowing they might cost his family security. The solitary philosopher speaks pure truth, unconcerned with consequences he alone would bear. Here is the principle. Anyone you need possesses power over you. The man who must maintain domestic peace cannot pursue dangerous truths. The man whose happiness depends on her presence cannot act with genuine sovereignty. Test your dependencies today. What would devastate you if lost? For each, ask, does this enhance my power or diminish it? Practice small acts of independence this week. Pursue an interest she does not understand. Spend one day in complete solitude without guilt. Notice how dependency creates anxiety while independence creates calm. You are not a painting requiring merely the right frame. You are raw stone, and you hold the chisel. This fundamental insight changes everything. The self is not discovered, but created. After my marriage proposals failed, I spent years in solitary wandering. Slowly, painfully, I realized there was nothing to discover. There was everything to create. Most men waste decades searching for their true self. The truth? You possess only potential selves, raw capacities that might be forged in infinite directions. What you become depends on what you practice, what you will. Each day ask not who am I, but who will I become today? This shifts you from passive discovery to active creation. But creation's true requirement reveals itself, solitude. Partnership forces constant negotiation of your very selfhood. She has opinions about who you should become. Her needs constrain which capacities you may develop. Choose one quality to embody courage or discipline. For 1 week, practice it deliberately. Notice how repeated willing begins to forge new capacities. You hold the hammer. Life itself is will to power the drive, to expand one's force, to overcome resistance. Yet modern man has surrendered his will, has made others the source of his power. The man who seeks validation through a woman has given her his will, made her the judge of his worth. Each time he checks his actions against her approval, he weakens. Each time he requires her recognition to feel capable, he becomes less so. I observe 2 students. The first constantly seeks his professor's approval, measuring worth by external recognition. The second pursues knowledge for its own sake, indifferent to praise or blame. 20 years pass. The first remains dependent on institutional validation. The second transforms his field entirely because his will was never surrendered. Where does your sense of capability originate? From within or from others' recognition? External validation creates dependency. Internal validation creates sovereignty. Identify 3 areas where you habitually seek validation. For 1 week, act in these areas without seeking approval. Make no explanations, offer no justifications. Simply act according to your own judgment. The discomfort signals your dependency protesting. The growing self-possession signals your will reclaiming its authority. Loneliness is the suffering of the weak man alone, resentment accumulating, the soul collapsing under its own weight. Solitude is the forge of the strong man alone, a power building, the soul hammering itself into greatness. During my wanderings, I encountered 2 hermits in the same mountain region. The first lived alone, bitter and resentful, blaming society for his isolation. Poison accumulated in his spirit. The second lived alone, joyful and productive, his solitude a sanctuary where philosophical insight gestated. Same mountain, same isolation. But one's aloneness weakened him, while the other strengthened him. What separates them? Internal resources. The weak man requires others to sustain his sense of worth. Alone, he collapses. The strong man generates worth from within. Alone, he flourishes. Test yourself. Spend 1 full day in complete solitude. No books, no letters, no distractions. What arises? Terror? Boredom? These signal loneliness, not solitude. Or does productive thought emerge? This signals genuine solitude, the condition necessary for greatness. Build capacity gradually through small practices. Otherwise you risk bitterness, and bitter solitude poisons everything. The terror of solitude is real. After my first rejected marriage proposal, I experienced what felt like death itself. Confirmation that I was insufficient, incomplete, unworthy. For weeks I could not bear my own company. I sought any distraction to avoid the void within. The terror whispered, "You are nothing. If she cannot love you, you are worthless." Then came the turning point. One evening, too exhausted to flee, I simply sat with the terror. I did not fight it. I sat. I breathed. I let the waves crash over me without drowning. The terror, which had seemed infinite when I fled from, it proved finite when I faced it. 5 minutes passed. 10. The waves subsided, and beneath the terror I heard something new. My own voice, speaking truths I had never dared think. This became my practice. When terror arose, I would sit for 5 minutes, just breathe, name what I felt. I feel terror that I am insignificant without her recognition. Naming diminished the terror's power. Begin this practice today. When the urge to flee solitude arises, sit still for 5 minutes instead. Focus on breath. Name your fears aloud. Each time you sit, you build capacity. When external noise fades, when you stop performing yourself for others, something extraordinary occurs. You begin to hear your own voice. Not the echo of approved opinions, but authentic voice speaking truths you have suppressed. During my first months in Sils Maria, living alone in my bare room, I experienced weeks of painful silence. No conversations to distract me, no wife to reflect myself back to me. The silence felt oppressive, threatening, but I remained. I sat in the silence, and gradually thoughts began emerging that I had never dared think before. Questions about morality I had suppressed as scandalous. Doubts about Christianity I had hidden even from myself. These thoughts became, "Thus spoke Zarathustra," my authentic voice finally speaking. Your authentic voice waits beneath the noise of your life. Create 1 hour of complete silence daily for 1 week. No books, no conversations, no music. Sit with yourself. Initially, you will hear only echoes, opinions absorbed from others. Keep sitting in silence. Gradually, your authentic voice emerges. It may say things that surprise or disturb you. Do not censor. This voice, not the performed version of yourself, is your true guide. I observed 2 men who lived alone. The first grew bitter with each passing year, resenting others' connections, blaming society. The second grew stronger, feeling no resentment toward the couple, developing capacities that partnership would have prevented. Same circumstance, opposite results. The difference I call hardness, not coldness, but inner strength that allows standing alone without collapsing into resentment. The weak man alone grows bitter because he experiences solitude as rejection. The strong man alone grows powerful because he experiences solitude as freedom. Hardness requires deliberate cultivation. Practice daily what I call amor fati, love of fate. Look at your solitary existence and say, not "I tolerate this," but "I choose this. I love this." When you observe couples or domestic life, notice your reaction. Resentment, envy, these signal weakness. True hardness includes no resentment, only affirmation. Practice, they have chosen their path, I have chosen mine. Both are valid. Each evening, conduct the hardness check. Ask, did I feel resentment today about others' partnerships? If yes, practice the reframe until resentment dissolves. Resentment weakens. Affirmation strengthens. The difference between greatness and mediocrity. Whether you protect your peak creative hours against encroachment. Most men sacrifice their morning hours to domestic obligations, then wonder why they produce nothing extraordinary. My colleague at Basel rises at 6 with genuine ambitions. By the time he navigates family breakfast and household matters, the morning has been consumed. He arrives at his desk at 10, exhausted. I rise at 5 in my boarding house. By 9, I have completed 4 hours of uninterrupted work. After 20 years, he has produced competent scholarship. I have produced philosophy that transforms human understanding. Identify your peak creative hours. For most, these occur in morning. These hours are sacred. Protect them with absolute ruthlessness. No conversations, no obligations, no compromises. Beginning tomorrow, protect 3 morning hours completely. Work only on your most important creative project. If partnered and she objects to this boundary, you have learned something crucial about the relationship's true cost. After 1 week, compare your output to typical weeks. Your greatest work will emerge from protected time, or it will not emerge at all. Solitude without structure produces nothing but wasted time. The man who lives alone, yet follows no disciplined routine, squanders the very freedom solitude provides. In Sils Maria, I follow iron discipline. Wake at 5, simple breakfast alone, walk 6 to 9 through mountain paths where Thus Spoke Zarathustra composes itself, write 9 to 1 in unbroken concentration. Simple lunch, rest, afternoon reading, evening walk, early bed. Every day, the same structure. This is not constraint, but liberation. The routine eliminates decision fatigue and creates channels through which creative force flows. Introduce a partner into this ecology and everything collapses. Her schedule differs. Her needs interrupt. Small compromises seem harmless, beginning work an hour later, cutting the walk short. But these compromises accumulate until the entire structure dissolves. Design your ideal daily structure now. Map every hour. Starting tomorrow, follow this structure without exception for 7 days. No negotiations, no special circumstances. After 7 days, assess. Did your productivity increase? Great work emerges from disciplined routine, or it remains forever potential. The man with dependence must choose safety over truth. His family security requires maintaining his position, which requires moderating his insights until they threaten nothing and illuminate nothing. The solitary man possesses freedom to pursue truth, regardless of cost. I observed 2 philosophers at the university, both equally brilliant, both perceiving the same uncomfortable truths. The first is married with 3 children, the second lives alone. The married man publishes cautious papers that preserve his income. His family depends on this income. He cannot risk controversy. The solitary philosopher publishes radical truth that destroys his academic reputation but transforms philosophy itself. He can take this risk because he alone bears its consequences. Conduct this test. Write down 3 truths you see but do not speak. For each, identify why you remain silent. Fear of consequences, career damage, relationship conflict. Now imagine you had 0 dependencies. What would you speak? This gap between what you see and what you say measures your slavery. Dependency forces silence. Freedom enables truth. Calculate this cost honestly. Is domestic comfort worth intellectual servitude? Every genuine advance in human understanding emerged from individuals who possessed courage to think alone, to stand apart from the herd's comfortable consensus. Academic committees produce competent scholarship. Solitary thinkers produce revolutions. Consider the pattern. Heraclitus alone in Ephesus, obscure and misunderstood. Spinoza grinding lenses in solitude, excommunicated by his community. Schopenhauer writing for a future that would understand what unites them. They thought in essential isolation from the herd. The married philosopher's truth must be negotiable. He cannot pursue insights that might disturb domestic peace. He cannot think dangerous thoughts because he has hostages, wife, children, reputation, comfort. Begin the practice of solitary thinking today. Set aside 2 hours weekly for pure thought. No books, no research, just your mind wrestling with one question. Think it through from first principles without concern for what others would say. After 1 month of this practice, compare your thinking to 4 weeks prior. Notice how independence from others' opinions enables genuine originality. Cultivate this ruthlessly, or remain forever a sophisticated echo of others' ideas. We grow strong, not through comfort, but through bearing weight. This principle governs physical strength and governs equally the strength of spirit. The romantic partnership provides comfort, support, encouragement, all the conditions that prevent the soul from developing its full capacity. I observe two scholars facing professional setbacks. The first has a devoted wife who softens every blow, cushions his failures with reassurance. The second faces setbacks alone, with no one to soften the impact. 10 years pass. The cushioned man remains weak, unable to bear serious adversity. The solitary man has forged strength through repeated exposure to hardship's full force. Adversity no longer devastates him. Solitude taught him to bear his own weight. This week, eliminate one unnecessary comfort deliberately. Morning softness, take cold showers instead. Emotional reassurance, bear uncertainty alone. Each comfort you require makes you weaker. Each hardship you bear makes you stronger. The man who requires comfort remains perpetually vulnerable. The man who has trained himself in hardship possesses resilience. Nothing can break. Choose the strength to stand alone or accept the weakness of perpetual dependency. I offer you now the ultimate test. Imagine your life exactly as you have lived. It must repeat eternally. Every joy, every suffering, every choice, repeated infinitely without change. Can you say yes without reservation? In the mountains of Sils Maria, by the pyramidal rock near Lake Silvaplana, this thought struck me with such force I wept. What if this life, my wandering, my illness, my solitude, my rejected proposals, my poverty, all of it returns eternally? Could I affirm this life unconditionally? I discovered I could. This affirmation is sovereignty itself. The man who has built his life around another cannot pass this test. His affirmation depends on external factors. Yes, but only if she continues loving me. These conditions reveal slavery. His life's value rests on factors outside his control. But the sovereign individual who has created himself in solitude can look at his life and say yes, again and again, eternally, not because his life contains no suffering, but because it is his life, created by his own power, lived according to his own judgment. Conduct this test tonight, honestly. Imagine your current life repeated eternally. What is your visceral response? Terror? Regret? These reveal aspects requiring transformation. This is your final teaching. Sovereignty means possessing a life you can affirm unconditionally. Most men cannot. They have surrendered their existence to others' judgments, their worth to external validation. Walk alone toward the summit or remain in comfortable valleys. The choice is yours. But choose knowing this. The greatest danger is not that your life will end too soon, but that you will never have begun it.